What's up, guys? It's Sean here, aka Delray Boston on Twitter. And I'm here with Real Deal Fantasy HQ, my home, all last season. If you logged onto the site, if you were there, if you won some money on DFS because of Real Deal HQ Fantasy, I just want to say thanks for logging on and checking it out. I'm going to be providing you some DFS content that's daily fantasy sports, aka daily fantasy football, Draft Kings, Fanduel. I'm going to be doing that for you all season long, and it starts tonight. Yeah, we're talking about the NFL kickoff. The world champion Chiefs versus the Houston Texans. You want to be a part of it. You want to get into your DFS contest. I'm going to give you some strategy, some tips, who I'm looking at, why, who I'm not looking at, why, all those things that you need to build your most successful DFS lineup. Now, if you haven't done DFS before, if you haven't gone on DraftKings or FanDuel, they have awesome bonuses available for first-time depositors. So you log in, you deposit some cash, maybe $10, $20, whatever you can afford, and you can get in on some really great action. Here's the cool thing. When there's a bonus available, as soon as you deposit that $10, they're going to come back to you and play a contest. They're going to come back to you and go, hey, guy, take a couple extra bucks on us. And now you have more money to play, and you can play all season long. I love DFS. I play almost every single Sunday. And I can tell you right now, I think that DFS is a really fun way to watch these games. You're not just watching the game because you love your team or you love your sport. It's a whole new reason to have that red zone package. You're watching the game because you're going, that's my guy. I picked that guy. He's my running back. He's my wide receiver. He's my tight end. And if he scores, you score. And that's the fun about DFS. But let's get into tonight because it's NFL kickoff. Woo! Okay, now here we go. Really important. When you're talking about DFS, you want to also make sure you know contests that you can afford. A lot of beginner players and a lot of experienced players, they go after cash game contests, meaning contests that are 50-50 wins or head-to-head wins with another opponent. I personally play tournaments. What this little live stream is going to be all about is Showdown tournament slates on FanDuel and DraftKings. And here's a couple that I picked out for you if you want some tips. One I found on FanDuel is fantastic. It's the 13K NFL single entry strike. The $5 entry. Top prize is $1,000. Now that means you're putting in one lineup for $5. You could walk away with $1,000. Whoa! But here's the really neat thing: if you come in 300th, not even one, you get 12. You just doubled your money automatically if you come in 300th, and I'm going to help you at least hit that 300 mark so you can double your money. On DraftKings, here's another one. NFL Showdown, the 10K daily dollar. Same deal, $1 this time on DraftKings. 10K daily dollar, one lineup, and you could win a top prize of $1,000. But here's the deal. If you come in 3,080th, you win 50 cents. You made a profit on your first ever DFS tournament entry. Now, that's pretty cool. Listen, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them here. We'll hit you back. One of the guys at Real Deal Fantasy or myself is going to hit you back, or simply just hit me up on Twitter right down below at Delray Boston. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, if you're not subscribed to Real Deal Fantasy HQ, what are you waiting for? We have awesome coverage for season-long leagues, sleeper leagues. I'm going to have some best ball content coming up this weekend for the full NFL kickoff, as well as more DFS stuff, so you got to subscribe. All right, so let's get into the games. Listen, I don't think you're going to be able to cash in any way tonight unless you have Patrick Mahomes and or Deshaun Watson in your lineup. I just don't. And here's a couple reasons why. Both these guys, obviously dynamic players, but it's also going to be very tough to figure out exactly where all of their targets are going to go and where they're going to run to. I personally think you're going to need one of these guys in the lineups. And here's the problem. In DraftKings, your lineup cap is $50,000, and Patrick Mahomes is going to cost you $12,600 of that. On FanDuel, you have a little higher cap, $60,000, and Patrick Mahomes is going to cost you $16,500 of that. So you're talking about a need to find value. Now, when I play DFS, I like to also mitigate risk. I want to talk about high-value targets at a lower price. That way, if I can get really great volume on my DFS lineup from one of those targets at a lower price, I might be able to afford putting a Patrick Mahomes or a Deshaun Watson, or maybe even sometimes both in a lineup while I'm still getting production and not wasting any sort of dollar of that $50,000 cap or $60,000 cap, depending on the site you're on. And the first guy I'm going to talk about here, Will Fuller the fifth. Yeah, Will Fuller. Here's the deal. If you have been following football for any time, the last 3 years, you know Will Fuller, injury prone, not always on the field. But when he is on the field, it's lightning in a bottle. The guy's a touchdown machine. He's a yardage machine. He has a rapport with Deshaun Watson. He's coming into this season healthy, great. And on top of that, the number one target. Yes, the number one target for Deshaun Watson with DeAndre Hopkins now in Arizona. Will Fuller is going to be in this game, and he's going to be a big part of this game. Personally, when you're looking at your showdown slate and you get a captain on Draft Kings or an MVP on FanDuel, those seats cost a little bit more money, but they're going to give you a 1.5% increase on the point total from that player. And Will Fuller is going to be my captain tonight. I'm telling you that right now. Every lineup I do will have Will Fuller in there. He will be Watson's number one target. But here's another thing I wanted to point out here. The Chiefs, I just watched this great documentary on right after Hard Knocks about the Chiefs in the entire year last year. And it reminded me of the Chiefs last year, the Chiefs defense specifically. The Chiefs defense specifically was a slow starter last year. If you recall, it wasn't until the end of the season that they really started coming on strong, especially in that secondary. Now they're coming off a Super Bowl win. Now they're coming off a Super Bowl high. They could go one of two ways. They could say, hey, we're the defending champions and we're not going to let up. Or, especially with the COVID pandemic that we have going on and the different circumstances, no preseason, no real training camp. It could be a situation where, once again, they are a slow starter, and Will Fuller is going to eat all over that. Lightning in a bottle. You got to ride it when you have it. Will Fuller, he's my captain for tonight. Now, another guy that's a big deal in this game, if you recall, last year in the playoffs, Travis Kelsey. The guy has a one-to-one, like mind meld type rapport with Patrick Mahomes, and we know that because he scored 3 touchdowns against this same team last year in the playoffs. Can you count on 3 touchdown production tonight from Travis Kelsey? I don't know. I'll tell you this. If I'm the Texans and I got J.J. Watt back, which they do, and I'm watching that tape of the last time that played, I'm doing everything in my power to say we are going to try and stop or slow Travis Kelsey. Can they do it? Who knows? Thor is a man among men. But if you are going to look at Travis Kelsey, I don't think you can do it without pairing him with Patrick Mahomes. Now, Travis Kelsey also is very coming into this where he had a questionable tag. Don't let that fool you. If you want to play Travis Kelsey, play Travis Kelsey. He's had a questionable tag practically for weeks upon end last year. He played every game. The guy is a beast. But do so with caution. I don't know if I'm going to expect the same type of production I saw in the playoffs from Travis Kelsey tonight. But I do want to talk about some running backs. And the running backs, specifically Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie, the sensation, the talk of the town, probably the number 6 pick in your fantasy leagues at home. We're talking about a guy who has got explosive power. He's got explosive ability. He's a pass catcher. He's a 3-down back, and he's a stud. I want to get him in my lineups. He's 8,800 on DraftKings, but he's $12,000 on FanDuel. My gosh, that's a lot of money from that $60,000 salary cap. Where I would be looking on DraftKings 100%, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be a running back that I'm playing. But on FanDuel, I might actually be going with David Johnson. David Johnson. Let's talk about David Johnson. What's his story? He was the stud in Arizona for a few years. He had a real bad season last year. A few different things didn't fall his way. Now he finds himself in the Houston Texans organization, and he's ready to make his mark. And this is a team that he would be able to do that with. The Chiefs versus the run. We're not talking about the Chiefs in the Super Bowl versus the run. We're talking about the Chiefs, start of the season, COVID-19, the whole 9 yards. I think David Johnson is going to come out with something to prove. You can save a little bit of cash on FanDuel with him, but he's only $7,600 on DraftKings. $7,600 for what is likely to be your 1, 2, 3 down back for at least your first 4 series every time the Houston Texans get the ball. And you're talking about a stud. It's not like he's coming into this as a rookie. He's coming into this with experience. And that thing right here, the chip on the shoulder. I think David Johnson's a great play, especially in DraftKings at only $7,600. When you're talking about having Will Fuller in your captain spot and David Johnson's one of your flexes, with that type of price, you're only going about 25% of your entire salary cap on DraftKings. That's where all of a sudden you can slide a Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. And maybe we can even find you some cheaper guys you can put in there to put them both in your lineup. Now that would be killer. So talking about some cheaper guys, here we go. Here's a couple of the players to highlight. Randall Cobb. I know it sounds crazy. Randall Cobb, journeyman, yes. Dallas Cowboy last year, yes. Houston Texan this year, slot receiver extraordinaire, and that's the key. The last time we saw Deshaun Watson target anybody in the slot that we wanted to play for fantasy, his last name was QT. It was not Cobb, and it certainly did not have the pedigree that Randall Cobb has in that spot as a slot receiver. You're talking about a guy who's a red zone threat for sure, and let me get my notes here. He's only $4,200 on DraftKings. Are you kidding me? $4,200 from a guy who might be targeted 6, 7 times a game, and 3 of those might be in the red zone. That's the type of dart throw that I like when I'm playing daily fantasy, especially in showdowns, when I'm trying to stack all those high-priced players. You know what I mean? You got to save some money in there, and you got to make it sense. I think Randall Cobb has a real opportunity to make a big dent in this game and make a big impact for this offense, and you could get him for only $4,200. He's a steal. Another guy we got here, Darren Fells for the Houston Texans. Darren Fells, the big man. Yeah, he is a tight end, and he is a tight end that could go unnoticed. I mean, you think about this. If you're talking about the Chiefs' defense, right, and you're trying to sit there and go, how are we going to slow down Deshaun Watson? Well, first we got to try and contain him, keep him in the pocket. We can't have him use his feet. Then we got to worry about the speedster out here on the side, right? Will Fuller, what's he doing? What's Randall Cobb doing over here? Hey, by the way, I got a little bit of more news on wide receivers for the Houston Texans, but I'm just saying when you're talking about having so many different ways that you have to make sure you're stopping the Houston Texans, that big dude running around the baseline of that goal line might go unnoticed. And I like Darren Fells a lot tonight as he's a touchdown machine. He's a red zone machine. And big Darren Fells also, when you're talking about saving some money, he's going to help you save some money too. Now, we have to worry about Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks has not practiced all week. He's got a bum wheel. We're talking about a guy who's been a consistent 1,000-yard receiver on multiple teams, multiple years. He could obviously be an impact player for this team, but being that he has some injuries going on right now, and he's not going to be necessarily in practice, I don't even know if he's activated, he's going to have a full workload. That opens the door for one Kenny Stills. Yes, Kenny Stills. Why would I want to recommend Kenny Stills? Well, we saw last season, Kenny Stills was on the field. Deshaun Watson targeted him. He threw him touchdown passes. And if Brandon Cooks cannot go tonight, it's going to be the Kenny Stills show, running alongside Will Fuller and Randall Cobb. We're talking about another speedster, and I love Kenny Stills. He's a guy that you could plug in without any conviction. He's only $4,600 on DraftKings. He's a little bit more priced than FanDuel at $7,500, but if he gets the start, I'm willing to roll that dice. We saw Watson target him even when DeAndre Hopkins was on the field. So I think Kenny Stills is another guy you need to target in that lower dollar range to help you keep those higher priced players in your lineup. I do want to also hit on Tyreek Hill. Now, obviously, Tyreek Hill is not going to be a cheaper play, right? But the reason why I want to target on this is because if the passes aren't going to Travis Kelsey, and the touchdown passes aren't going to Travis Kelsey, they're going to go to Tyreek Hill. And he's a guy that you need to look at. So when you're looking at building a lineup, let's see, what's Tyreek Hill right now? Okay, Tyreek Hill's 10,400 on DK. Way too expensive for me on FanDuel at 13,000, but it might float your boat depending on how you do with some of these other players in there. But I'm just going to say this. Tyreek Hill is a touchdown, a yardage machine that could break out at any minute, and you can't ignore him. If I'm playing multiple lineups, I'm going one with Kelsey, one with Hill. If I can, I'm going to stack both of them in there with Mahomes, but that's going to be very tough with their prices. But I think Tyreek Hill is going to be a great play tonight too, so please don't ignore him just because I talked about all these Houston Texan guys. I do also want to bring up that I think tonight's game is going to be a legit shootout, all right? And when you have a legit shootout, it brings back to my original point. I don't think you're going to be able to cash tonight without Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes in your showdown lineups. I just don't. I think that one of those two guys could potentially break the slate, as they say. And if you don't have him in your lineup, even if you have a great high score, it's not going to matter. So when you're looking at building your lineup, take a look at some of these other guys, all right, like I just brought up. Yes, Will Fuller is going to be my captain. I'm going to spoil that. If you're playing against me in any sort of tournament tonight, guess what? That's what's going to happen. But then you got Kenny Stills, you got Darren Fells, even David Johnson to a lesser extent, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. These are going to be studs tonight in this game that can also help you get some of those bigger names into your lineup that could potentially really do damage against your opponents in your tournaments. I think that the only other thing I want to bring up is I'm a little concerned when you go deep down in that Chiefs receiver pool. All right, you got Demarcus Robinson, you got Nicole Hartman. Those two notable names right there. And, of course, you got Starship Sammy Watkins. Okay, now when you're talking about those three guys, it could be any one of those three guys' games, and it's really tough to tell. If you've watched any Chiefs football over the last 2 years, you could see that. Nicole Hartman is going to have a big breakout year this year, is what NFL insiders are saying. He's probably going to be kickoff returner, punt returner. He might return a kickoff or a field goal, or a punt. These things don't give you points in daily fantasy. Is he going to catch a ball? He may. Demarcus Robinson, always right place, right time. Could he catch a ball? Could he catch a touchdown? Absolutely, he could. Sammy Watkins. Is this a Sammy Watkins day? It could very well be a Sammy Watkins day. But the problem is if you go much past Kelsey, Hill, or whoever that running back, which is Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, it's really tough to go that way. And like I said in the beginning of this thing, when I'm playing tournaments, I like to mitigate risk. I'm not saying you can't, but I probably will not be, only because I don't want to get a goose egg by starting Nicole Hartman and having him catch no balls. That's just my opinion. It's controversial. I get it. So to conclude, Draft Kings, FanDuel, it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to watch the game. It's a new way to watch the game if you've played. If you have played, dive back in. There's some really great low-dollar contests you can get involved in tonight, and I think you're going to want to, because somebody's going to walk away with $1 million. Someone's going to walk away with $1,000. Someone's going to walk away with $12, and that could be you if you only put in one. That's a profit, and that's a win, and that's what we're here to do at Real Deal Fantasy HQ. We're here to help you win. My name is Sean. Hit me on Twitter, Delray Boston. My full NFL preview for this weekend, DFS, is going to be up later tomorrow, Friday, so you can all check it out there on the site, and I hope to be hitting back to you soon. If you like this video, give me a like. If you love this video, give me a love. Give me a comment. If you think I'm an idiot, I get it. A lot of people think I'm an idiot. But I just wanted to help you out a little bit tonight and get you ready and get you psyched and pumped, because football is back. Thursday Night Football, DFS, do it. Real Deal HQ Fantasy. And my name's Sean Delray Boston. I'll see you soon.